Hey, everybody. Welcome. Get started in a few minutes. Looks like Justin is trying to join, so we're going to give him just a second before we start the event. Welcome, everybody, and just give us a moment, please. Thank you. Hey, Justin, we see you, but we cannot hear you. Give you a second to get sorted out, and we'll go ahead and get the event started.
Now.
And now I can hear you. Yeah. How are you?
Good. How about yourself? Sorry about that.
Great. Thanks. Do we have the chat open?
Ooh, let me get that rocking for everybody. Gotta love audio issues. Setting you back.
Part of Discord, buddy.
There it is. Alrighty. The office hours chat has been opened up.
Awesome. Did we start the event?
Indeed, we did. Should have people
Awesome.
joining in here shortly.
Shout out to Yewan, Ryan, Diana. Arthur is here. Welcome, Arthur, one of our newest teammates. He's our new director of engineering. Welcome, Arthur. For anyone that would like to go ahead and speak today, please raise your hand. We will invite you to the stage so you can ask a question. There is also an office hours chat under the community section in the Discord. If you want to go ahead and post your questions in there, we'll go ahead and get them answered just as soon as we can. My name is Todd. I'm here with Justin from the Subspace team, and this is our weekly office hours. And we are here to answer questions from the community, anything that you may want to know about Subspace. We've been talking a lot about the incentivized testnet, which just wrapped up. And since we're currently not in the testnet phase, that just ended, Justin, I think you're going to go ahead and just recap the statistics for people that may have missed it last week. Do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as most of you know, we had our incentivized testnet over the past month or so, our phase 1 of Gemini. We saw a decent amount of support from the overall community. Thank you everybody who ran nodes and tried out the software. Definitely were some issues and some points of improvement that we identified, but overall we were able to get the network up to about 3.9 petabytes of allocated storage, which is pretty good, especially for an early incentivized testnet. Overall, we saw about 13,000 nodes come online, with roughly about 10,000 of them becoming fully synced. So while there was some that weren't able to get fully synced, the majority at least were able to get up to that highest block and start earning rewards. So overall, because of our delayed rewards launch, our reward structure, we enabled rewards at block 158,000 roughly, ended them at roughly 392,000. So overall, there was 234,000 eligible blocks that could have been farmed for this first stage of the incentivized testnet, and definitely was amazing to see all the support that we got. Especially on this first stage, and hopefully this next stage will continue to see more and more support as we work out some of those pain points with like syncing and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about some of those improvements that we hope to make in a second. But we are going to spend a little bit of today just kind of recapping some of the things that we had talked about last week about rewards. A lot of people had questions on that. And as people are coming into the chat, just a reminder, you can go ahead and post your questions in the office hours chat, or you can raise your hand. We'd love to invite you to the stage. But as a quick recap on the incentivized testnet, the reward ratio was about 9x as a guideline. And as we had said before, the rewards were structured as zero point 0.1 TSSC, that's test subspace credit, was given out as a block reward. Also, you received 0.1 TSSC as a voting reward. So altogether, it's about 1 TSSC per block. And as Justin had said, since we had about 235,000 blocks total, that would mean we had about 235,000 TSSC that were given out as rewards. And about 210 of them were allocated, 210,000 of them were allocated to voting rewards, with the other 25,000 or so being given out as block rewards. So if you wanted to calculate your percentage of the awards, you can do that. And the way that we kind of structured that, as everyone probably knows, is that we have said that we're going to give out 0.3% of the token supply is going to be allocated to the Gemini testnet. So what you would be able to do is take the number of tokens that you farmed and divide that by the approximately 235,000 that were given out as rewards for the entire testnet, and multiply that times 0.3%. So if you take the tokens you farmed, divide it by 233,000, multiply that times 0.3%, that will give you the approximate percent of the total supply that you would be entitled to when we do give these rewards out on mainnet. And maybe just so everyone understands, Justin, we can kind of recap a little bit the difference between the voting reward and the block reward. Now, this is going to change as we go, but we had said there's about 9 voting rewards per block, plus there's a block reward. Maybe just differentiate a little bit that so people understand.
Yeah, so the block reward is, kind of more along the lines of your standard crypto, mining, farming environment, where the block reward will be issued to the winner of the block challenge as far as farmers go. So whatever farmer finds the correct block or the closest block to the challenge will win the block reward. Now, what the voting rewards are is we basically take that. You can imagine, the challenge is, it's a range of numbers, and we can expand that range, and then anyone who can basically vote on what they think is the closest block, as long as they are right, will get that block, or get a portion of the reward as well. So basically, it allows more rewards for more users within that same block. Just kind of decentralizes that reward structure a little bit, as opposed to maybe one whale just winning every block and getting all of the tokens. This way, if you're maybe even a smaller farmer with a smaller allocation, you will still get some return as far as your rewards go and everything like that. This is something relatively new to our protocol. It's actually not even described in our white paper, but it was one of those minor improvements we kind of identified along the way, and are still kind of tweaking in, and will continue to improve as we grow as well.
Yeah, that had to do with the frequency, I believe, right, Justin? We were concerned there were some other lessons learned from some other protocols in the space where there was a really long time between receiving rewards and if you received awards. So frequency had something to do with that was done, correct?
Exactly. And so, we already have a bit of a higher reward frequency, the majority of crypto protocols, but we just kind of wanted to ensure that we could hit it from kind of a two-pronged approach of having more common blocks, but also those blocks are, a little bit more distributed as opposed to, just going to one person.
Yeah, great. It's worked out well so far. And we'll talk about the tokens in a second. Welcome to everyone who just came in. You can raise your hand if you have a question, post it in the office hours chat. We would love to hear from you. We're here for our weekly office hours. I'm Todd. I'm here with Justin. We have some other members of the team. They're in the audience as well. And if you have a question or a comment, we would love to hear from you. So go ahead and post it or raise your hand and ask it. A few quick announcements that we'll just run through. Subspace is still hiring. If you see the jobs board on our website, you will see that we have technical and non-technical positions available. The market downturn has been very unfortunate, but we are very fortunate in that it has not affected us. Things are going great here at Subspace. This is a builder's market in our view, and we are taking advantage of this time to just kind of drop back. And as Justin had said before, make some improvements to the protocol before we go ahead and launch the next phase of the incentivized testnet, which we do anticipate will be coming in the next few months. We haven't really said much about timing at this point because we're going to give it kind of a wait and see approach, how much progress is made. The team has been growing. As I said in the beginning, I see Arthur, who is our new director of engineering. He's on the call today. He's going to be helping us to build out the team. So welcome, Arthur. And we're looking forward to his contributions. But there are many positions we have available. So please go ahead and check out the jobs board on the website if you would be interested in possibly joining the team. Maybe you're looking for something with a little less commitment, and that's great too. We are looking for community members who want to help to, get the protocol going, get more involved. We're looking for moderators in the chat forums. We need people to do documentation. If you have experience with similar protocols that you think would be helpful, we're looking for graphic designers. You name it, we can use you. So, of course, the ambassador program, the applications are currently open. They will be open for about another 10 days, right about until July 15th. If you're interested in becoming a Subspace ambassador, you can find the application on the website. We would love to hear from you. And, there's a lot of other opportunities as well, just moderation, and of course, just get involved in the Discord and join the conversation. We really enjoy seeing all the questions, and Justin, and I know Ryan and a few other people have been out there quite a bit answering questions. So thank you for participating in that. A few other things we wanted to run through. We have also brought on an integration with an external program called Subwallet. Subwallet is a substrate-based wallet built on the Substrate framework that integrates with Subspace. And if you want to use Subwallet, you can go ahead and add the connection, and you would be able to set up Subwallet to keep an eye on your Subspace tokens. You'd be able to watch and see what the farming count looks like. Of course, rewards are currently not being paid out, but you can still continue to farm tokens, I believe. Isn't that right, Justin? We're just not going to be paying rewards on them.
Yes, you're more than welcome to continue to run on this version of the testnet. Though, but anything past block 392626 will not be eligible for rewards, incentivized testnet rewards. Doesn't mean we won't definitely appreciate any testing, though. And obviously, testing out these versions will also give you a little bit of an advantage of being familiar with the software if there were any changes for the next phase as well. So there is that little bit of an advantage on the user end of just, kind of being ahead of the curve, if you will, as far as farmers go.
Yeah, so if you want to use Subwallet to keep track of those tokens, go ahead and check them out. We will be doing more with them in the future.
We do have a question from Drama, actually. Raised his hand. I'm just going to bring you up to the stage, Drama. Feel free to ask your question.
Hey, what's up, guys? I have a question for Diana. Diana, do you hear me?
Hey, Drama, can hear you.
I'm not sure.
Diana left the channel. Yes?
Yes, it doesn't look like she's here. I'll do my best.
I and team member Skylar was preparing a summer community event in marketing purposes, but Skylar, I guess he is fired now, not anymore a part of team. And I write a DM to Diana about this event, community summer event. I think, I hope she give me a feedback, but no feedback for a few days, and I'm start to worrying about my idea. So maybe Diana will join us today in this chat.
I think Diana is here. I don't know if she is online at the moment. Diana, if you would like to maybe send Justin a message if you're available, that would be great. Drama, I'm not sure what the nature of your question was, but maybe if you can even post the details in the chat for now or
Just
something.
kind of reminder to Diana to check my question about this event. That's all.
Sure. Noted. Thank you for that. We'll be sure to pass it on from her. Was there something else you wanted to ask that we could maybe post to the rest of the group for now?
I'm good. Waiting for decisions about an ambassador program. Hope,
Yep.
yes, it will be useful for Subspace, those people.
Well, great. Thank you. We appreciate your wanting to participate. And we'll certainly pass that on, Drama. Thanks very much. And again, for anybody else who wants to consider the ambassador program, you can get that application on the website. And Diana is the person who is in charge of that. She will be the one to respond to any inquiries someone has. If you have an idea for a project or something else, it sounds like Drama has an event that he wants to propose. We would really appreciate anybody who wants to get involved in that. So thank you again. This is absolutely the forum to ask that kind of a question. So if anyone else has anything they would like to say, you can also go ahead and raise your hand or just post it in the chat. But for now, in the interest of time, we'll keep moving on. We just wanted to let people know that next week we are not going to be having office hours. So we're going to be skipping a week. There's some things that we need to tend to as a team. So we will not be here, but we are going to be here at the same time every week going forward, with the exception of next week. So you'll notice that there is no event that's going to be set up for next week at this time slot, and that is intentional. So we will miss you, and we will be back the following week. So Justin, circling back around to the testnet, as we mentioned, the current rewards period has ended, but we have shut it down for now so that we can work on building in some improvements. And we had talked about this a little bit, about some of the improvements that we're looking to make, but maybe if you can go ahead and expand on that a little bit so people know exactly why the testnet has, kind of stopped the rewards for the time being, maybe when the next iteration will come up, that would be helpful.
Definitely. So as far as, some things that we identified, really our biggest concern was syncing issues. Seeing there was some additional stresses that were put on the network due to the current configuration of syncing. It's important to note that this is strictly a side effect with the current phase we're in, and not necessarily the core protocol of Subspace. But because of that, it was, creating a situation where, certain farmers couldn't get up and running, other farmers were winning, many, many blocks and things along these lines. So really the biggest focus that we're focusing on is syncing times. Beyond that, there was also some issues we identified as far as random I/O goes with various types of storage devices. So, HDDs versus SSDs versus, M.2 SSDs, etc. So various improvements we can make on that front as well to increase reward frequency for, maybe hard drive-based farmers versus SSD-based farmers and things like that. Because obviously one of our core focuses is not requiring high-spec storage or devices as well. And that was kind of another side effect with the high syncing, is it was causing high compute usage on farmers, which also kind of goes against what we were ideally describing as well. But the big things you can look out for in this next phase is increased syncing times, ideally increased random I/O optimizations as far as the hard drives go. And we're also hoping to have our decentralized storage network active as soon as possible, which effectively will allow you to sync from the farmer plots on the network rather than syncing from like an archival node as we saw in phase one. And this will obviously, one, help decentralize and resolve the farmer's dilemma to, as described in our white paper, but will also significantly improve syncing times for users as well.
Yeah, and another good thing just to remind people when it comes to running the protocol and running a farmer, that the protocol is really intended to run on commodity hardware. It's not recommended for people to go out and buy these super large hard drives to do farming on. You can, and of course, that additional pledging of space to the network will increase your chance for rewards. However, the reward curve is very high in the beginning, and unless you really win some of those blocks, you may find that over time, it is not necessarily beneficial. So, like many similar protocols, we have gone ahead and said, this is meant to take advantage of excess space that you may already have available. If you have a large farm and you'd like to allocate that, we welcome you to do it. But it's not really recommended to go out and buy additional hardware to throw at this, just because that may not pay off. And we don't want to see people waste money and then, find out that it has not been a good investment. So start with using the hardware you have if you're new to the protocol. And we'd love to hear how you make out. For the people that have currently earned tokens that are going to get them, Justin, a lot of people have been asking, okay, I have this TSSC. What do I do with it? Can I sell it? Can I convert it? What's going to happen? We already talked about Subwallet to potentially use that as something they can use to manage it. But what else can be done with the TSSC that they have, Justin?
Well, for right now, nothing, unfortunately. It's in that early stage where, if you were able to win blocks during the incentivized testnet, at this point, all you really need to do is just make sure you don't lose your seed phrase. Because what we're going to do is once mainnet launches, the addresses that won blocks will be basically dropped their equivalent allocation. So anything you do with your testnet SSCs right now on your network or on the testnet isn't really going to affect on mainnet. Really just make sure you keep that seed phrase. And I could say, as the one who's lost a few seed phrases in my past, it's never fun, especially when you're ahead of the curve and see what it is after the fact. So really just make sure you don't lose your seed. And one thing too is we are also currently working on parsing through the reward information. So we have a script that's pulling all of the reward addresses, the amounts they won, etc., from the eligible blocks. And we will hopefully have some information, hopefully either sometime this week for you, regarding exact distribution and things like that for those rewards on that, those eligible blocks that I had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so the real advice for now is just to hold on. As everyone knows who's been using the protocol, you specify that reward address separately, and you can certainly reuse it in the future. However, for now, you should just hold on to those seed phrases. Justin, going through some of the other questions that we've had here, there have been some people asking about the way Subspace plans to run in the future, not just as it pertains to the token, but one of the questions was your document says you were going to run as a parachain. And I know that's what we had said in the white paper, but now we've been talking about creating a bridge with Polkadot. So the intention isn't really to run on a parachain, but really more as a sovereign chain. Do you want to maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so early on, very early on, for those who had been here for a long time, we had initially announced that we had intentions of becoming a parachain. After some analysis into our consensus and realizing, the way that we function versus the traditional .sama consensus, unfortunately are just incompatible. .sama can't really factor in proof of capacity or proof of archival consensus on top of their relay chain. It just gets complicated. So because of that, we had to be our own sovereign chain, which ultimately is kind of better for Subspace in general. But it doesn't mean that we're going to be not fulfilling any objectives we had with the .sama ecosystem. So as many of you know, we do have our relayer, which backs up the Kusama and Polkadot relay chains and their associated parachains. But down the line, what we hope to do is instead of going with a parachain, instead of going with a paraslot. A paraslot you can think of as similar as a parachain, but it's like kind of paid for as you go. It'll effectively give us the same functionality as a parachain, but also allow it to be something that we can kind of tap into from our own sovereign network, and still provide that value proposition to the Sama ecosystem and all of their parachains.
Yeah, and another question, talking about being a sovereign chain, is you look at some of the competitors that are out there, like an Arweave or a Chia as a Filecoin. And I know you've answered this one quite a bit, Justin, but about how we differentiate ourselves. There's things like proof of useful storage, there's overhead, there's data availability, there's the way that execution is decoupled. A lot of people see these terms and may not understand what they are. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the differentiation between us and some of those other platforms?
Yeah, so I like to think of Subspace as the only proof of capacity protocol that really solves the majority of the problem. So if we think about some of the competitors, we have, let's say the big one like Filecoin, for example. Filecoin's really good for small amounts of data that you need quickly. So, a caching server, things like that. Data that you need to be able to pull for a DApp or onto a domain. Now, while that's great on Filecoin side, the problem is it's not very permanent. If you're an NFT creator who puts something on Filecoin, you're going to have to continue to pay that cost fee. And obviously, you stop paying it, then all of a sudden you're going to lose your data, which in the case of an NFT kind of goes against the whole purpose of the value proposition. So with Subspace, we kind of counter that as we have permanent data. Now, another competitor would be, let's say, Arweave. Now, Arweave on paper looks very similar to Subspace. We both offer permanent storage. We both kind of have a perma-web kind of ethos about us where, we don't want to lose anything that shouldn't be lost, etc. But as far as Arweave directly is concerned, one, our consensus is a little bit lower overhead. So like Arweave, they use, I think it's proof of access. It's effectively more closely related to proof of work than proof of capacity. So it has a high computational overhead and still isn't the best as far as like energy efficiency and things like that go. And furthermore, while Arweave does have permanent storage, they do have a little bit of assumptions as far as their storage pricing model goes. I would definitely encourage anyone to read up on how exactly Arweave prices their storage. Suffice to say, it's a little bit overcomplicated and it kind of makes some assumptions about incentivization. Versus Subspace, it's very simply a supply and demand equation. So, we charge our storage based off of how much is available. So if there's only like 1 megabyte available on the network that's not being used, it's going to be very expensive to fill up that megabyte, which in turn would incentivize more farmers to come online, getting farmers more rewards. Versus on the flip side, if we have a bunch of extra storage available, then the cost of storage is going to be very low, which then encourages, developers and people who want to store data to come and store data very efficiently and permanently, thus, making less storage available and incentivizing farmers once again to come back online and reap the advantage of those rewards. But ultimately, we try and focus on the incentivization of the farmers and making sure that farmers are incentive compatible. Because we argue that, unfortunately, on a lot of protocols, such as like Chia, farmers are not incentively aligned to maintain the security of the network. Big question. I can definitely dive into it more, but keep it short for time.
Yeah, that's a great explanation, Justin. Thank you for that. Kind of what you were alluding to is that dynamic cost of storage, which is something that we've really built into the protocol, the ability to look and see what the storage is available on the network and thereby adjust the transaction fee accordingly. Of course, with the Subspace credit, you pay once to put data to the network, and there is no cost to retrieve it. So once something has been put or minted on Subspace, it's there forever. And depending on how much storage is available on the network, that cost of storage is going to dynamically adjust in order to, as Justin had said, incentivize more farmers to come in, or if it gets too cheap, more people will put data on the network, and there will be an equilibrium point. And that's really a novel aspect of the protocol that has been built in. That is the utility of the token, which is another question that we get quite a bit. What is the subspace credit going to be used for? And it is to pay the transaction fees on the network. So that's a very key point. And again, thanks, Justin. That's a great explanation. The last question, I guess, I will answer that was put into the Discord this week, which we get all the time as well, is when will the token be launched on the mainnet? And this goes to what Justin was saying in the beginning, that we're going to look for at least one or potentially two more iterations of the incentivized testnet, which will be happening in the next few months. And there will be a mainnet beta. And we have not yet said when that's going to take place. We will have more information about this as we get closer to the fourth quarter or into the fourth quarter. We'll be talking more about launch times and when we think that the token is going to go live. And of course, we'll have more information about rewards and other things that are coming up in that time. And I don't see any other questions. And it looks like we're right at the half hour. So with that, we will go ahead and wrap for this week. As a reminder to everyone, there will not be office hours next week. We will be taking the week off. So in 2 weeks, we'll be back here. Justin will go ahead and create the event and make sure we're set, as well as continue to take questions in the Discord, on the Telegram, on Twitter, anywhere you would like to go. Of course, go to our support forum. Forum.subspace.network if you have other questions, and we're always here to answer them. So with that, Justin, thank you as always. Great job answering all the questions, and thanks to everyone in the community for coming this week, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you all have a great day.
Bye, everyone.